The following is a non-verdict-based research versus show. The stats of the individual characters are not taken into consideration when determining aspects of the fight. However, the characters themselves are going to be represented in their fullest capacity outside of stats. This is versus universe.
Luck. It's something all of us have, whether in great or poor quality. But what if your luck was so bad or good it could be considered a power? These two characters are prepared for their luck, and it's their daily lives at this point. But what if the pinnacle of good luck went up against the pinnacle of bad luck? Nagito Komaeda, the ultimate lucky student of the 77th class of Hope's Peak Academy from Danganronpa, and Milo Murphy, one of many Murphys famed for their terrible luck from Milo Murphy's Law. Let's begin. In the far-off mystical land of current-day Japan, there are many different schools that students can attend. However, the most prestigious isn't one known for its high grades or rapport. Instead, it's known because it's so hard to get into. The illustrious Hope's Peak Academy has a unique mindset when it comes to education. They seek out the best of the best in a field, and then that student can attend free of charge. Yes, somehow the Japanese government funds this thing. However, there is one exception made every year. Annually, the school will randomly send out a letter of acceptance entitling the student the Ultimate Lucky Student, or the Super High School Level Good Luck Student if you hate the process of translation. In the 77th class of Hope's Peak, the one chosen for their unbelievable luck was Nagito Komaeda. Nagito was born into a rich family, but one day on the returning flight from a vacation, his parents were hit by a meteor. Yeah, despite the many more sane ways his parents could have met their end, instead, they were hit with a meteor from outer fucking space. Get used to this, as this is how his luck works. Essentially, Nagito's luck can be best defined as high and low points. For each extreme low, there is an accompanying high that comes soon after. Take, for instance, when his parents died. Due to that incident, he inherited all of their wealth, as he had no other living relatives. Or when he was kidnapped and held for ransom. Despite the dramatic experience, in the trash bag he had been bagged with, he found a winning lottery ticket totaling in 3 million yen. Because of these extreme highs and lows, Nagito didn't really believe that he'd never have the chance at a normal life. And I mean, hey, life itself was constantly telling him this exact same lesson every day. But there was one thing that kept Nagito, at least partially, sane. This thing is hope. Hope, for all intents and purposes, is the force of good in the Danganronpa world. Hope is what keeps the world moving in the face of despair, and there is plenty of despair in the Danganronpa universe. Kinda like Kingdom Hearts. Hope's Peak's objective is to cultivate the ultimates to make sure that more hope enters the world than despair. However, the self-proclaimed ultimate despair, Junko and Ashima, had infiltrated the academy. Junko is like if Reddit was a person, which means she's terrible. Just the worst. Like, there is nothing redeemable about this bitch. She does so much shit, it's not even funny. Not only did she manage to somehow elude Hope's Peak's top security to infiltrate the academy, she created a scenario so horrendous it incited a mass suicide. Yes, that is a real thing that happened. But brooming in the 77th class was what Junko despised most. Hope, Chiaki Nanami, the ultimate #gamer, brought the class together despite their adversity towards each other at first. Nagito was kinda just along for the ride, but when he sees hope at all, he just kinda stays with whoever's creating it, which in this case was Chiaki. However, Junko saw the work Chiaki was doing with the class, and like the thinking woman she is, she decided to kill Chiaki and film it so that the rest of their class had to watch. Seeing the light of Chiaki's hope fade with her life, it was too much for the poor kids. They all fell into despair, and through some brainwashing were now puppets of Junko's to use as she pleased. Except for Nagito. He, unlike the others, willingly joined Junko's empire so that he could stage a coup and take it over from the inside. That never happened, and so the 77th class of Hope's Peak Academy was no more. Stop. Rewind. Instead of being at a school on their first days, the 77th class of Hope's Peak Academy, in actuality, the class was taken to the illustrious Jabberwock Island, known for its main island being the center point of numerous smaller islands circling itself. They all got along initially, but right when things were reaching their apex with the guiding angel Monami, the dastardly Monokuma showed up and fucked everything up. Now, instead of having a communal life, the students were forced into a killing game. The rules were simple. If you can murder a student and get away with it, you will be taken off of the island. If you do not get away with it and are caught, you will die as well. This caused a lot of panic in the class, But initially, through the strong will of Byakuya Tsugami, they all got along and he's dead. That did not last long. This pattern continued until there were only 7 students left, and Nagito decided that it was his time to shine. For unknown reasons, he created a trap perfectly designed to catch who Monokuma deemed as a traitor, and get them executed using his incredible luck as one last final gambit. So he died, asking the rest of the cast posthumously through a video to be named The Ultimate Hope. Pause. You have been presented with 2 narratives. One is false, one is true. The one that is the truth is up to you to decide. Now I'm just fucking with you, they're both true. Shortly before beginning the Killing School trip, the entire cast had their memories erased by the Future Foundation. This group is vilified by the class, until they realize that they themselves are what has been come to known as the Remnants of Despair. Their life on Jabberwock, which was actually an augmented reality like the Matrix, was meant to rehabilitate, but instead Monokuma showed up and fucked everything up. This Monokuma was being controlled by an AI Junko, which is just an entirely different story. So every character that died along the way of this Killing School trip was not actually dead and just in a coma. That was also being threatened to be taken over by Junko's consciousness. Fucking moving on from that bullshit. Long story short, the rehabilitation didn't work, and the Future Foundation was forced to start anew now that they knew Junko couldn't interfere in any way. Oh, and she's also dead in the real world. Yeah, there was an actual killing game that took place in reality, and it ended with Junko killing herself. Fucking thank God. Nagito specifically was the last to go to the program that rehabilitated them all. He was placed in a reality where he was just an ordinary boy. Nothing extraordinary about him. This is due to his high appraisal of the Ultimates, or the other students at Hope Speak Academy, and his general lack of appraisal of himself. Circling back to his murder, this is the reason he targeted the so-called traitor, so that they, whoever they were, would walk free since they were the only one who wasn't a remnant of despair. As Nagito went through the World Ender, he had to endure what was essentially an entire separate life from his own, even if it was his ideal one. And once he came to realize that maybe he wasn't as shallow as he viewed himself, Nagito accepted the end of this utopia. And so, he joined the remnants in clearing off remnants of Junko's empire, consigned to a life in solitude with his classmates where they will be free of their past. But even then, when it comes to hope, no one will do anything to preserve it quite like Nagito Komaeda.
The Ultimates are working together to combat the despair of their friend's death! How wonderful! How beautiful it is!
In the fabled tri-state area, there exists a long lineage of men with the surname of Murphy. These men have but one thing in common other than family, that their luck is so universally terrible that it became a law. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Fast forward to the current millennium, and the most recent Murphy children are Sarah and our focus, Milo. Milo Murphy is a middle school student, and a safety hazard to basically everyone around him. He has this aura always surrounding him that affects the probability of things going wrong in his general area. And this usually takes the shape of something kind of just breaking when he touches it. Though that doesn't mean it's always working against him. There are definitely moments where Murphy's Law is inactive, but it can be so much more. Milo has had plenty of adventures because of Murphy's Law. So, let's talk about them. Did you know that Milo Murphy helped develop Doctor Who? Or that he wrangled llamas on a football field? Or that he stopped a motherfucking apocalypse from happening? Twice? Yeah, despite being around 13, Milo's life is far from uneventful. This life essentially demands that Milo never be down on his luck, so he's about as optimistic as a person could possibly get. No matter where he is or who he's with, Milo finds a way to spin any situation into a positive one. Usually literally, since, Murphy's Law. Basically, if you're near or around Milo, prepare for the worst things to happen, but never anything like psychological. Cartoon violence will happen. You'd think this predicament would cause people to stay as far away from him as possible, and that's usually true, but there are a few that accept Milo despite Murphy's Law. His best friend Melissa, and Zach from Zach and the Lumbersacks fame, yes, that's the thing from the show, I watched it all. There was a lumber-based one-hit wonder boy band, and one of the main characters was the lead singer. Fucking end my life. Anyway, Milo's best tool for dealing with Murphy's Law is his handy-dandy backpack. Depending on the situation, Milo will carefully pack what he thinks is necessary, though this usually boils down to blow-up rafts and fire extinguishers. But it can be extremely specific to the situation, or it can be a hodgepodge of whatever he currently has. Basically, it depends upon whatever event is going on in his life whenever we decide to gaze upon his wacky antics. Although, he has packed for the wrong occasion before. He is human, he's allowed to make mistakes. With his backpack and can-do attitude, nothing can stop Milo Murphy. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for those around him, particularly the time-traveling duo of Cavendish and Dakota, tasked to protect the Earth's supply of pistachios. By Mark Hamill. They are constantly burdened due to Milo existing whenever they are protecting the existing pistachios, and begin to view him as a foul nemesis, until they talk to Milo and realized how wrong they were. Now Milo, Cavendish, and Dakota were tasked with saving the world from a pistachio monster invasion. The creatures go by the name Pistachions. Alright, so with Milo's help, they all fixed the timeline, but unfortunately, Cavendish and Dakota go without compensation for saving the world. Oh well, this analysis isn't about them. Fuck you, Cavendish and Dakota. Oh shit, they're back. And so are the Pistachions. Fuck! They all collectively forgot about one Pistachion that got sent back in time to the 1960s and sabotaged Dr. Zone. Get it? Like Doctor Who, but royalty-free. So now they are all going back, and fuck, they made everything worse. Fuck, now the world is being run by Pistachions. Fuck! How is Milo gonna get out of this jam? He doesn't! They all die! Rest in peace. Psych! Cavendish and Dakota get the brilliant idea to find the man who will eventually invent time travel, since he lives in the same city as Milo, coincidentally. And this somebody turns out to be Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz from goddamn Phineas and Ferb. Yes, the show does indeed share a connected universe with Phineas and Ferb. I am going feral. So they all work together so that they can stop the Pistachions from taking over the world. And they do! They all live happily ever after, and Balji eat fucking dabs. It really goes to show that, no matter what life throws his way, Milo always keeps his head up and takes it on the chin. But still, the universe had one more adventure in store for Milo Murphy. Aliens! Sometimes they show up at Danville. This time, however, they were looking for something special. Somebody who's used to dealing with, quote-unquote, negative probability ions. Alright. This is because Milo Murphy is an ethereal deity that us mortals can only comprehend. And anything he touches is fated to perish at one point or another. Milo is everything. Milo is nothing. Milo is eternal. Milo is everlasting. Milo is God, and nobody but me seems to believe that. I mean, look at it! How can he not be God? He is a child, the pure essence of good in the world. He is the electro deity on high from heaven, sent about to progress from our sins. Believe in him or perish! Ah! Okay, sorry, had a bad credit card moment there. I'm better now. The real reason he was chosen by aliens for his ability to deal with Murphy's Law is that their leader's daughter has Murphy's Law times, like, 1,000,000. So they went to Earth in search for a human capable of dealing with that, and lo and behold, Milo came in just in the nick of time. Now Milo, his friends, Cavendish, Dakota, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who is now living on Milo's couch because his gigantic building fell apart in the Pistachion invasion, Perry the Platypus, and a Cavendish Platypus hybrid are here to save the day. They call him Cavenpuss. Cavenpuss! Though initially met with hardship, through the natives of this planet all transforming into Milo to become more brave in the face of danger, they successfully make it so that this bitch's daughter was normal now. They all collectively shared a bit of her bad luck, and with the help of Milo, they learned that this isn't such a bad thing. And so, the savior of Octalia went to return home, only having to deal with Murphy's Law along the way. And then they crashed. This is where the series is ended right now, so I have the headcanon that this is where they all die. But even if they live, somehow, they will be returning to Milo's world. And I mean, hey, we're all just living in it.
Sometimes the interruptions are half the fun, and sometimes they're mind-bogglingly terrifying. I can't wait to see which one this is.
We open to the scene of Nagito Komaeda wistfully strolling along the sidewalk on his morning commute to Hope's Peak Academy, blissfully unaware that above him, Milo Murphy is careening towards the air from an airplane ride gone awry. Milo lands in the bush near Nagito, and as the middle schooler slinks out of the shrub, Nagito stops to take in whatever the hell just happened.
Hello?
Milo, focused entirely on how to get back to Danville, just now notices the high schooler in front of him.
Oh hi, I'm Milo Murphy.
I'm guessing you aren't Japanese then. How did you get here?
Oh, you know, Murphy's Law.
Nagito looks visibly confused.
You have a whole law named after you? You must be pretty special.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's named after me per se, but it's named after my family. You know, whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. That kind of thing.
Nagito then changes his chipper tone as he takes in what Milo just said.
So, no matter where you go, bad things always happen?
Well, I guess. But it's all about how you handle things. Now I gotta get going. It was nice talking to you.
Nagito, finding a gun lying in the bush Milo landed in, grabs it and points it at the boy.
Oh, you're not going anywhere. From what I've heard, all you do is spread despair. So if I kill you, only hope will remain.
Nagito readies his aim at Milo, but the gun jams and he tosses it aside.
Hey, shooting people isn't nice. And besides, there wasn't a gun when I fell inside the bush at all. What happened?
Well, you see, I've got a certain talent of my own that helps me when I want something. It's kind of boring compared to certain others. But if it'll help me destroy despair, then I'll use it as much as I have to. Now stand still!
No, thanks.
Milo then proceeds to run away from Nagito, the latter chasing him all throughout the city. Eventually they run into a construction site, and a wrecking ball snaps off of the wire it was on, bounces off of a telephone pole, and lands squarely behind them both. They then start to run parallel to each other instead of Milo getting chased.
Why is it that everywhere I go, there's a construction site?
Milo then proceeds to, while running, rummage through his backpack to find what he was looking for, a grappling hook. He fires it at the nearest building, but the wire snaps at the worst possible time. Now he's rolling on the wrecking ball, chasing Nagito. Nagito then pulls a full stop, and before Milo can understand why, he and the ball fall into the sewer system below.
My problems always did tend to take care of themselves.
But before he can walk away fully, Nagito notices a weakened Milo emerging from the sewer he fell into.
Phew, that was hard. All it took was a raft at a gas pump, though.
Milo looks over, and to his surprise, Nagito had not left the side of the chase yet.
Why won't you die?
All it takes is a positive attitude, and nothing can stop you. That's always been my philosophy anyway.
Nagito begins to cackle.
This kid thinks he's an ultimate. I can't forgive that.
Milo begins to speak up.
I don't think I'm ultimate at anything. I like to think that anybody in my shoes would do the same thing I do.
No. Normal people can't overcome that kind of despair. You're nothing but an unlucky loser. Just like me.
Suddenly and without warning, the entire Earth they were standing on catapults due to a purple skyscraper crashing into the ground and unleveling everything, causing everything to launch into the air within a radius of however far away Nagito was from Milo. As they fly into the air, they both separately land into the same airplane.
Alright, this is your captain speaking, letting you know we are going to be crashing into a deserted island very soon. I would say my thanks, but I'm an orphan and do not have a wife. So yeah, have fun I guess.
That's not good. Time to go.
Milo then jumps out of the plane, and shortly after he begins to descend, he deploys a parachute from inside his backpack with his face as the logo.
How weak. Running away instead of facing your problems directly.
Nagito then plummets from the same exit that Milo used, careening towards the Murphy and colliding into him at Mach speeds. They then crash into a small island, bodies buried in the sand. Milo then props himself up, only to see his dog had followed him to the island.
No, DOG, go home. He's not supposed to be in the fight script.
TehGM then proceeds to go home, and Milo begins to follow him so that he can get as far away from Nagito as humanly possible. But as he begins to leave, he feels something grabbing at his ankle.
Do you need a therapist or something? I feel like these beliefs can be overcome if you just took the time to sit down with a mental health professional.
No one can change my mind. I'll rip out despair by the roots. And I'll start with you.
As he says that, he picks up a fallen pipe from the plane they were on and stabs Milo in the shin.
Ow! Wait, why is my blood pink?
As Milo tries to tend to the wound with his backpack, Nagito's luck causes it to fall off his back and into Nagito's hands. He then throws the backpack into the ocean, completely disarming Milo.
What a shame. Your luck's run out.
What are you talking about?
Milo then sees the wrecking ball from earlier about to crash into him.
Oh, crap.
And with a splat, Milo is crushed into a fine paste under the metallic sphere. Nagito then begins to laugh as the island around him erupts into flames.
Yeah, well, despite trying to kill me, I can tell you do it because you think I'm a menace. I get that. Lots of people back home treat me like that, but in spite of that, I always get back up, no matter what. So, I'm going back home. You can follow me if you want. Just please, stop trying to kill me. Goodbye. Whatever your name is.
Nagito then begins to cry.
That resolve. Although his life is nothing but despair, could he be the ultimate hope? Wait! I'll help you get home!
I'm not sure what inspired this change of heart, but thanks.
As Milo signals for her name, Nagito smiles wholeheartedly.
Nagito. Nagito Komaeda.
Well, nice to meet you, Nagito Komaeda. Just don't look to crash at my house when we get there. There's already a pharmacist who lives with us.
And so, they both swim off into the sunset, having been made friends with their shared life experiences, as the island they left behind erupts into flames. Do you ever just write a children's character being squashed violently by a wrecking ball? I think we've all been there before. So, let's get into the menial stuff before the hard-hitting questions. First of all, can Milo's ending be considered a win? Well, under the rules of this series, I consider a win to be basically anything happening with a winning character incapacitating the other in some way. And that includes persuading the opposing character to their side. And I mean, Milo isn't gonna pack a 9mm in his backpack or anything. This kid is not out for blood. That we know of. But Nagito, on the other hand, that motherfucker is out for blood against anybody he sees as a threat to hope. He fucking helped bomb an entire gymnasium and basically tried to commit homicide with the whole fire grenade incident. So that child is going to murder. And has. I sure do love child murder. But now let's talk the nitty-gritty shit. Their luck. How do their specific varieties of luck bounce off of each other? Well, given that Nagito's luck basically is the embodiment of peaks and valleys, I thought that Milo being around him would exponentially increase both his good and bad luck. Basically, for every insanely bad thing that happens, an insanely good thing is around the corner for Nagito, when Milo is around. And I mean, Milo's luck is for sure on a caliber Nagito has never even heard of. Like, Milo fucking went to the other side of the galaxy and stopped 2 apocalypses because of Murphy's Law. Closest thing Nagito has to doing this is helping the Future Foundation take back Hope's Peak Academy from the remains of Junko's empire. But even then, that was not nearly of the scale that Milo was dealt with. So overall, Nagito had the luck to spare, but Milo had the experience to deal with it. But let us know, who do you think would win? Comment below, and before we leave you, here's a trailer for the next episode. Bye!